Have you seen the way that Dorcas dresses? Oh my gosh, that's how you should be dressing. What? You don't watch Love Island? You are not living. Why do you always say you don't have money? Like, why can't you just be like other husbands? Are you tired of hearing these things? Welcome back to IMFL, guys. Last week, my last video was on the topic of criticism. Now, I got so much constructive criticism concerning that video. It was amazing. I had people call me, tell me things, I had people message me. I personally think that the last video just touched the surface, so it was relatively superficial, but I love the feedback that I got back. People wanted to know more, people were asking questions about things that they wanted me to touch on, and that's what this video is for. So the first question I got was, under what circumstances is feedback constructive? And I think that was a very, very good question. When is feedback constructive? When is it okay to give constructive criticism? When is it okay to criticize someone if it's going to be constructive? Now, obviously, it depends on what you're criticizing the person for. Last week's video, I touched upon the fact that if you're not going to criticize in love, then there's no point doing it. I mean, the Bible does talk to us about using the word of God. The word of God teaches us to train and correct and rebuke and so on. So there is a bit of criticism in there, but the whole point of doing that is the fact that it will be constructive to the person. So something that the person can use as a positive, something that will improve or produce some sort of corrective action. So under what circumstances is it okay to do that? Obviously, it's better to give constructive criticism than to give criticism that isn't constructive. If we're criticizing the person, then it's not constructive. Many a times, it's not actually the person. It shouldn't be a personal attack, but it should rather be based on what the person is doing. So I'm going to bring a very touchy subject. For example, you know, as Christians, we might say, oh, you know, it's wrong to be gay because that's what it says in the Bible, or it's wrong to be homosexual. Yeah, well, actually, you're not criticizing the person that's carrying out the deed. You're criticizing the deed that is being done. So we need to be able to differentiate that. Sometimes it turns into a full-blown personal attack, and then that's why people don't receive it very well, because they feel like, you know, why are you attacking me, sort of thing, and they don't see what they've done wrong. But many a times it's what they've done, not who they are as a person. So that was the first point. I think I got another message asking about the fact that, let's say, for example, you're a leader in the church. You're a leader in the church, that's what I'm saying. And you've got another leader, like a colleague, who's doing something that isn't right or isn't beneficial for the church, and they keep doing it, and you've been prompting them and they're not listening. Is it okay to criticize them at some stage if they keep doing it, whatever they're doing that's wrong in public? And I think that's quite a delicate one, especially as leaders, because when we're leading from the front. Everyone deemed as being somewhat below us, even though I don't believe that. The people that you are leading basically are watching you because you're at the top. So it's really, really important that whatever we're doing, we're setting the right example so that those who are following from us or under our leadership can then follow suit. So I don't think it's good to criticize all the time. I feel like as Christians, sometimes we're criticizing and we're leaving the love out of it. Now, it's important for me to say this. Everybody has a love tank. Everybody has a love tank that is yearning to be filled. Now, the love tank is filled, as I said in my last video, with appreciation, with praise, with positive comments, uplifting comments, comments that are edifying. If you're constantly criticizing, fault finding, being condescending, picking at every single negative thing that the person does without seeing anything positive, not being able to be pleased, then if you're constantly doing that to people, then that person's love tank is going to grow empty. you know, and then it starts to show in the way that they bite back. And I've had that personal experience. There are times when, you know, I've been so critical of my husband without even realizing that I'm doing it. And then sometimes it's like, just randomly, I'll say one thing and he's like, oh, and it's like, okay, what have I done? He's literally just biting back. He's on the defense, because it's like you keep pushing. And that's how some of us have become. So we need to really aim that whatever we're doing it in love. There was another question that came to, if I can remember off the top of my head, that was saying that the fact that I didn't mention in the last video things that can lead people to criticize. And I think that's important. It's different for different people. Obviously, if someone is doing something that you deem as wrong or incorrect or inappropriate, sometimes as well, like parent-child relationships, parents feel like their children aren't studying or pulling their weight in school. Sometimes within relationships, marriages, we criticize our spouses because we feel like they can do more around the house, or they're not providing enough, or they're not paying for particular bills, or they're not even something as simple as not being romantic. So we can criticize or be critical of those particular things. But we must recognize that we're all human beings. We're not perfect. Every single person on this earth has a weakness. And it's important that in pointing out the person's weakness, you also look at the positives or the strengths that the person has. And that's something that I call the sandwich theory. So it's basically sandwich criticism. Now, what do I mean by this? It's also known as PIP, and some of you might have heard that. So you say a positive, then you say how the person can improve, and then you round off with a positive. And I think that really, really helps, and we should try to adopt that. So let's say someone's done something wrong and you want to point out to them or criticize them that they've done something wrong. You would first say, oh, I think you really did well in grouping the people together, positive. But I think that it would have been even better if you grouped them in age order, improvement. But yeah, like I said, the way you grouped them were really good. They were able to come together and collaborate ideas, and it was a very successful event. Positive again. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like a sandwich. So you need to make sure that you start off with the positive, so the person doesn't feel that you're just about to attack them. So you start off with a positive, you lift up the person's spirit, then you tell them how they can improve, positive or constructive criticism in the middle of the sandwich, and then you end up on a positive. So you start on a high and you leave on a high, rather than just honing in, going in on a person. And we do that sometimes, especially when the criticism is out of frustration, and that's what we should try and avoid. When it's out of frustration, when it's provoked, so you feel like someone's done something, oh, I'm going to get at them, I'm going to tell them what they've done wrong. Especially in marriages, these things happen a lot as well. So I think overall, those were some of the things that people wanted me to discuss and touch base on. If there's anything else you guys are interested in knowing, just let me know. I can do these quick videos and address some of these issues. So just in light of what I said in my last video, let's as Christians try to live at peace with everyone. Really look at the positives and the strengths that God has put in each and every single one of us, and learn to build up our weaknesses together. Let's hold our hands together and overcome those weaknesses with positives. And in doing so, we'll be living the life that God has intended for us to live. So stay blessed, guys. That's all I have for you this week. I will see you again next Sunday for another video. Thank you for listening. Take care.